Let's have a conversation. What's up, y'all? Good evening. I hope your evening is going well, and I hope your day went well. We are, for where I live, Tuesday, 12/6 at 8:31 p.m. Eastern Time. I had a pretty tiring day. As you guys know, I went to the Steve Wilkos show. Some people stayed from the time they got there until I think 5:30 p.m. I left about 2:30 because that was enough for me. I left my house, I want to say about between 8:30 and 8:45, and I got back home about 4. Yeah, so that was a 7-hour day for me. If I had stayed longer, it would have been a 10-hour day, and I'm not doing that. Even when I go to these shows in New York, I still don't do that because they always have the morning tapings and the afternoon tapings. So they will have a taping from 11 to 12, let's say, and then they'll be like, oh, do you want to come and stay in the audience, or do you want to come back at 2 or 3 o'clock for the afternoon taping from 3 to 5? And I'm like, there's no way that I'm getting myself up in the morning at 8 o'clock a.m. and leaving at 5 p.m. That's a work shift. And then it's not like I'll get home at 5. It still takes time for me to get home after that. So we're talking 9-10 hours. What I've realized about a lot of these people who attend these TV show audiences every day is that they don't go to work. And I'm telling y'all, the only reason I'm able to do this so much right now is because I'm currently off of work temporarily. But once I get back to work, this is not going to be an option for me to do frequently. It'll be like a once in a while, I take a day off here or there type of thing. But anyways, that is off topic. The topic at hand is a little bit of a recap, a breakdown of my interview with Wes, which will be dropping for the public on Friday. It's already currently available to view if you are a member of my channel, but if you are not, the video will be available for everyone this coming Friday, which will be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I believe that's the 9th. Yeah, I believe this coming Friday the 9th, the video of my Wes interview is going to be public for everybody. So you guys have said you like my breakdowns of different things. So this is just going to be a quick breakdown about how this interview came to be. So in 2020, going back to 2020, I've told all of you how I was going through a deep state of depression relating to a lot of things, the pandemic, a lot of people dying, the shutdown, the lockdown, COVID, my gym closing, my dad getting sick. That was the year that his health really took a turn for the worst. So all of those things were happening in 2020. So while I was at home, I needed something to do to occupy my time. And something that I wasn't doing a lot of at that time was watching TV. I had actually deleted most of my TV watching apps because I was like, my life is a lot more interesting than anything that I watch on these apps, anyways, and it's not productive for me to spend time watching TV. So I was not doing a lot of that. But during the shutdown and the lockdown in New York, there was nothing else to do because you had to be in your house all the time. So I reopened a lot of these apps and some that I had not previously opened before. One of those being Patreon. So I wasn't looking to subscribe to everybody's Patreon, but one thing I was doing, they had put on a season of the challenge that was going on during the pandemic. And a lot of challengers had Patreons where they would give breakdowns and behind the scenes stuff about what was going on during the season. So I subscribed to a few of them. I subscribed to like Cam and Leroy. I subscribed to Jemmy, not because I'm a huge fan of Jemmy, but only because she claims to have some tea about Jordan and Tori, which didn't really even turn out to be tea. There was, I think, a few others. I can't remember them offhand, but I subscribed to a few of their Patreons, and my intention was one and done. I also subscribed to Wes's Patreon, which was definitely a one and done plan, which I've told him. I've told him this on multiple occasions that his Patreon, I looked at it and it was like $25. And I was like, that's too much. There's no way. But I said, since I'm a Wes supporter, I am going to subscribe to this channel for like a month and then view all the content on there and then end my subscription to the app at the end of the month. The reason why I ended up staying as a member, I'll tell you guys why. On his Patreon, he does challenge recaps like everyone else. But during the off season in particular, he was pushing a lot of his own business stuff. He was pushing his TV show, his like reality TV show thing that he created, Friends and Benefits. He was pushing this entrepreneurship show that he was recording for his business. And he was just talking about a lot of things about business and entrepreneurship that piqued my interest because that is what I am into. So I remember inboxing him on there and asking him, I was telling him actually at that time I didn't have an active, I had a channel, but I didn't have an active YouTube channel. But I was telling him that I want to develop a platform or maybe expand a YouTube page of my own that is dedicated towards mental health, music, and I don't think reality TV at the time, but just mostly mental health and music. So I asked him for startup advice because I know that he represents a company or created a company, I guess, co-founded maybe, that offers startups to new businesses. So, I mean, I didn't ask him to be a part of that. I just asked him for like general startup advice about what I was trying to do and gave him a little bit of my ideas. So, what he said to me at that time, he was like, the particular, um, this is not an exact quote or anything. I'm just giving you guys like a generic version of what he said to me. The particular field that you're trying to build your niche in is not necessarily profitable and it's not easy to do. So I kind of responded back and I was like, well, thanks for that honest feedback. Um, I was disappointed a little bit, not necessarily because he was wrong for saying that, but just because I was like, wow, I expected to get a pep talk or something about how you can do it. I encourage entrepreneurs. Here are some steps you could take or whatever. So After I said that, he actually sent me another message where he apologized. He was like, I'm sorry if that came across as harsh. And I hope that I didn't discourage you from following your dream or anything. I was just giving you like a realistic, what did he say? Expectations management. That's what he said. He's like, I was giving you expectations management so that you wouldn't jump into this platform you're trying to create expecting to get some huge result out of it right away and then getting disappointed and not wanting to continue. He was like, if this is your passion, if this is something that you want to do, if it's something that you love to do, go ahead and do it. And if you make money from it, great, but do it because you love it is basically what he was trying to tell me. And he was also saying it's a possibility that you can also make money from it, but it's going to be hard. So at that particular point in time, I was like, I'm not really going to do that right now. At this time, my mind was not mentally prepared to do something that was going to be hard like that and that didn't have some kind of guarantee to have success. So I kept communicating with him, not with any specific goal in mind, just as a subscriber to the Patreon when he would drop his recaps of challenge episodes, or he recapped the Real World Homecoming, or he would put out Challenge USA recaps, different stuff that was going on, mostly challenge, but sometimes relating to other reality TV, or sometimes just relating to himself and his own business endeavors. And I would comment on all of that. And I would not just comment on his post for that, but like I would message him back and forth. And like I said, on the live, which you guys will see soon if you haven't seen it yet, the live conversation that I had with him, he would give me very detailed responses in my inbox. He still does. So one day I had an idea for this thing called the Silent Pandemic, Our Mental Wellness, which is on my page. Some of you have seen it. I reached out to him and I said, I'm trying to put together this mini documentary about the pandemic and about ways that people were challenged during the height of it and ways that they have overcome. And I want to know if you would be a part of it. He was like, absolutely. Just let me know where to send it, and I'm going to get that done ASAP. So I gave him the link of where he could submit his video. And to my shock, he gave me a video within an hour. And I had friends, like personal friends that I asked to do this thing that never ended up sending me anything. Or if they did, it was weeks and weeks and weeks after I had originally asked them. So I was like, that is solid. I was really thankful for that. That video is still up there, by the way, if you guys want to see it. It's called The Silent Pandemic, Our Mental Wellness. So anyways, fast forward, because I put it out a few months ago, but I think he actually sent me that video quite a long time ago. So we kept communicating and all that, and then one day I felt like it made sense to ask him for an interview. And I think I asked him in about June or July of this year. And he was like, no. He said, at this time, I am swamped. I have too many things on my schedule. I am not able to do that, but we will get it done at some point in the future. So I was a little deflated by that. I was like, okay. He just said no. It's not like he gave me a time or a date when he could do it later. He just said, I don't have the time on my schedule. But I said, I'm just going to keep going with what I'm doing. And I'll wait a little while. I'll reach back out, see what happens. So then October rolls around. I asked him again. I was like, hey, Wes, just circling back, seeing if it's possible for us to schedule this interview. And he was like, I can't do it right now. Right now, I've kind of overbooked myself and I am stressed and I need a mental health break. And I'm actually going to take a social media break and a Patreon break. So he actually paused his Patreon subscriptions and stopped using his Instagram for a time and Twitter, I guess. And he said, we will definitely get this done in December. So again, I am taking him at his word, but I'm not sure when this is going to happen because this is the second time it's been postponed and it's been months since I first asked. So when we were coming close to the end of November, I said, let me reach out, even though it's not December yet, let me reach out right now. And hopefully, if he finds some kind of opening in his December schedule, reaching out to him now will give me the best chance of locking something in because I know that he's a busy guy. So I reached out, I think it was last week, Friday. And then he said, sure, let's make it happen. Is Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern time too short of notice? And if you watched my last video, you can't tell, you can't, thank you, Van Hoot. If you watch my last video, you just got to take what you get when it comes to interviewing certain people. Because imagine if I waited for 6, 7 months and then he was like, is Monday at this time too soon, too short of notice? And I was like, yeah, it's too short. And he's like, all right, well, let's get back to it in January because that's the only opening I had in December. I wasn't even giving him a chance for that. That's funny. I wasn't even giving it a chance for that. So personally, with the way that I prepare for things, it was too soon, but I was like, I'm going to make this happen. And then he said, I only have 1 hour. He was like, I have a meeting at 2 to 3, and then I have a meeting at, I think, 4 to 5. Basically, there was an hour meeting before his interview with me and an hour meeting after his meeting with me. So he was like, I have exactly 1 hour. So all of those things were kind of factors working against me because good luck summarizing a person with like 18 seasons on a TV show, like 18 plus seasons on a TV show in 1 hour, which is the reason why I actually didn't get to you guys' chats because as you saw with John Brennan, I was able to go through and read some comments, but John didn't tell me that he had that exact, very strict time budget. So I did what I could. I knew that if I had stopped at any point, I wouldn't be able to get in. I didn't even get in, like, I wouldn't even say a quarter of the questions that I had. I had to just go with the flow a little bit, and Wes gives really thorough answers. So it's not going to be like a quick hitter where you get in 50 questions. You're going to get a few questions in, especially if you have 1 hour, and they're going to be answered very well, which I've gotten feedback from a lot of y'all who have seen it anyways, the people who have seen it. And I look forward to the feedback from everyone else when I drop or when the video becomes public on Friday to non-members. And everybody says they like the way that he breaks things down and they like the dynamics that we had, and also how I made it a little different, how I threw in the pictures and had him comment on different moments that he has had in challenge and real world history. That was just something creative that I tried to throw in there because I know that for them, they do a million of these. For me, this is like, wow, once in a lifetime. But for him, It's not the first and it won't be the last. So I try to make it a little bit different for each person. I'm still sharpening my skills too. I haven't done many of these. Like I said, I've done a few with family and friends prior to doing reality TV interviews, but I'm new to doing reality TV interviews. So even though I'm telling you guys, like, hey, I would love to interview this one, I'd love to interview this person and this person, I haven't done it that much. So as time goes along, I'm learning. I watch back the interviews I've done. I'm like, okay, how can I sharpen the tools kit? How can I figure out a way to get to the point a little bit faster? How can I, work on keeping the interview maybe a little bit more on track to the agenda? But then again, you sometimes you can't always go with an exact agenda because they will start talking. You might ask a question that makes them think about something else, and they'll start going into something else that may be really interesting to the viewer, even though it's not on your particular list. So at that point, it's like a balance between your planned and prepared questions and going with the flow. But anyways, I never thought that I would get an interview with Wes Bergmann. I have not been trying that long. So I'm not saying it in a sense of I've been trying for so long to get that interview and I finally got it type of thing. Even though the 6 months or so that it took did feel like a really long time. It was just more like it materialized almost organically. All my interviews that I've had so far have kind of materialized organically. Um, and yeah, so that was just my background info on this interview, how it happened, how it materialized. Again, even though he might not see this video, I'm thankful. I'm really thankful to Wes. I told him this during the video. I sent him a message afterwards, which he responded to. And it gives me life and it gives me hope. It gives me hope to keep going. Because even though it's been a really slow process building up my channel, getting people to participate in these interviews, building up my subscribers, building up my memberships, all of that kind of stuff, I do feel that at this time next year, this is going to be a big platform. This is going to be a platform where I'm going to be doing big things, where I'm going to be having a lot of big name people on here. My interview skills are going to be really sharpened, and it's just going to be a machine that just keeps going. So again, I appreciate everyone who has been here in the beginning or in the early stages. Even if you just got here recently, you're still here in what I consider an early stage. There's still a ways to go. And that was my recap of how the interview materialized. Oh, I guess I will also talk just a little bit before I go about some of the things I spoke about in the interview. I had planned to kind of go in chronological order, but it didn't work out that way. But that's usually how it goes. I've started to accept that because when I first did my interview with Ayana, I had probably the same thing, 3-4 pages of questions. And I was like, at the end of the interview, I was like, I didn't get to even half of these questions based on, I would ask her one thing and it would make her think of 10 things. And she would answer this. But then when people watched it and gave me feedback, they were like, I loved this interview. I liked this part and I liked this part. And I started to realize they don't have to go on an exact chronological order of my questions asked. And sometimes that's not even interesting because it's not raw and authentic. So with this Wes interview, I did have a lot of questions that didn't get asked, but I asked at least some of the main ones that I wanted to get out. I didn't get in depth with asking him about CT, but I did ask him about the moment where he antagonized CT and then CT got in his face and yelled at him all night. Wes admitted during that time that he was actually scared, but he said that he was less scared than others because he knew it was a possibility that he would have to get in a fight or that he would get hit, whereas he said the other people were sucker punched. He touched on the bananas beef, where he was basically saying the beef just started with after Kenny and Johanna hooked up on the island, and basically a lot of people chose sides from there. He talked about the ruin season. He talked about the ruin season where he came into that season dating Kellyanne, and Johanna and Kenny were on there, and Kahada were on there. Kahada was his current girlfriend's ex-girlfriend. So there was a lot of dynamics going on with that season, and he actually stated that he wasn't prepared for how heavy that got for him. I would have liked to go in a little bit more depth, but he did answer that. I talked to him about the D situation where he had to kick D out of the house, and I asked him whether he thought that MTV made the right decision by cutting her out of the footage, which they basically said it was a tough. He said it was a tough decision for them to make. They were kind of put in a difficult position. What else did I end up asking about? The groupie drawer. I mean, that's a super throwback. You would have had to remember Real World Austin from 2005. And I put up the picture where he was like, covered his eyes and was like, "Which one of y'all am I gonna sleep with tonight?" That was classic, man. That was classic West back in the day. I did get in quite a few things, even though I had a 5-page list of questions. I got in several of the key ones that I wanted to ask. But like I said, there's only so much you can get in 1 hour. But anyways, that's my brief recap. Y'all are going to be able to see the whole video yourself. It lasted about an hour and 8 minutes. It's dropping Friday for the public. Thank you once again for your support. If you have not done so yet, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you will be notified of when I drop some more great content. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.